There are a few things that give me more joy than watching a super team go down and fail to live up to expectations. And the Nets this year were that super team. And by God, they failed to live up to expectations. Now you can point to a number of things. You could say, when you put together super teams like this, and especially when you talk about the fact that Harden wasn't even there day one, you had to bring him into the fold later. Like a lot of the super teams you put together in the past have come out in year two, been better, and won championships. You think about LeBron when he went to Miami. You know, and you talk about the fucking LeBron-led Cavaliers when he came back in 2015. Like, sometimes that stuff takes time for it to gel and get together. It didn't for the 2008 Celtics. It never did for the 2000 Portland Trailblazers. But, you know, there's something to that. And if you say, well, you want to talk about injuries and blah, 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 blah. Well, Kyrie's fucking fragile as hell. If he's not hurt in the regular season, he's going to be hurt in the playoffs. You know, the whole LeBron whining and bitching about, oh, you assholes had a 4-month break in the middle of last season. You got 2.5 months damn near before the start of this season. Shut up and nut up and fucking figure out how to stay healthy. Just some dudes can't handle it. Some dudes are fucking fragile. Kyrie Irving, from a physical and mental standpoint, is fragile as hell. But you can bring up all these excuses. Well, Kyrie was out at the end of the series, and James Harden was hurt throughout the series. The bottom line is, it's a fucking joke, and an absolute choke. And the leader of that choke army in Brooklyn, of course, another year, another playoff choke from Elimination James Harden. And why do I call him Elimination James? Because of two reasons. One, because if he's a feature member of your team, you're going to get eliminated at some point in time in the playoffs in heartbreaking fashion. Two, you know that in elimination situations, elimination games, James Harden is going to play like doo-doo. Like you eliminate waste from your bowels. James Harden eliminates his playoff chances for his team out of his bowels every year with some of the steaming, stinking piles of shit that he leaves on the court in the playoffs year in and year out. And I know the assholes this year are going to sit there and talk about watching Game 7 and say, oh, he had a hamstring injury and he was hurt, like it's unfair. Shut the fuck up. Great players find a way to overcome. Great players find a way to be great even when they're not at their greatest. James Harden can't do that because, in general, he is overrated as shit. And everybody needs to come to grips with that. He's just a different version of a trash-ass high-volume scorer, meaning he has to take a shit ton of shots to get his points, fucking dominate all the action. You're only going to ever get so far with James Harden as a feature part of your team. You've seen this over a decade. I don't know why this fucking be news to you now. And the reality is who the fuck would even like watching him play anyways? That flopping around and then playing like a bitch ass, always trying to draw the contact. It's like Reggie Miller on super sissified steroids. But beyond all of that, Game 7, without Kyrie, Durant, having played splendidly the previous game, coming back and again, nutting up. We cannot like Durant for the ultimate punk-ass move that he pulled several years back. But there is no doubt that the Slim Reaper is an all-time great NBA player. Like, he is that type of fucking dude. Cannot take that away from him. But you sure as fuck can with James Harden. Because when it came to nut-cutting time, when his team really needed him, in Game 7, he went 5 for 17 from the field and 2 of 12 from 3. The same James Harden that pitched a bitch in Houston this past season at the start to get the fuck out of Houston, to orchestrate his way out of Houston, to come here so that way he could get the pressure taken off of him and basically pull a semi-Durant route trying to win a championship the bitch-ass way. When his team actually needed him to step up in Game 7, he went 5 of 17 from the field, 2 of 12 from three-point land. And of course, the nincompoops and idiots are going to sit there and say, well, he was injured. You can't blame him for that. Like, that's unfair. Like, he would have played so much better if he was healthy. I want to make myself absolutely clear here. If you think that anything in James Harden's history would indicate that he would have played better if he was healthy, you're a fucking clown or you're clowning yourself. Because there is nothing to support that. There is overwhelming evidence to show that, bad hamstring or not, what you saw out of James Harden's punk coward ass in Game 7 against Milwaukee in the Eastern Conference semifinals is exactly who the fuck this dude is. Is that when the temperature gets hot and the pressure ramps up, he coils up like a little baby bitch. The dude went 5 of 17 from the field and 2 of 12 from 3. Hamstring my ass. And if you really want to believe that shit, let's take a look at some of Harden's recent track record in Game 7s or elimination games over the past several years of his career. Game 5 of the 2020 Western Conference Semis against the Lakers. Actually, one of his better performances. He went 12 of 20 from the field, 2 of 8 from 3. That's one of his better performances. Now, mind you, the Rockets lost by 23, and it really wasn't a game in the second half, so he could put up some garbage numbers when he knew the pressure wasn't on and they had no chance to win. There was no pressure there. But that's about as good as it gets. Go back to the previous series against the Thunder in Game 7. The motherfucker went 4 of 15 and 1 of 9 from 3. The dude that was supposed to be the franchise player, like it's bad enough last year that Houston had fucking Westbrook throwing up 300 shots a game and missing 80% of them. Fucking Harden wasn't no better in goddamn Game 7. 4 of 15, 1 of 9. How is that any different? That was last year when he was healthy. This year when he's hurt. The numbers are basically the fucking same. 2019, Game 6, Western Conference semifinals against the Warriors. 11 of 25 from the field, 6 of 15 from 3. Actually, a less shitty game from him. More kind of an average performance you would expect out of a big-name star. Game 5 of the 2019 Western Conference first-round playoffs against the Jazz. Well, here's another shitty one. 10 of 26 from the field and 3 of 12 from 3. Let's go back to 2018. Let's look at Games 5, 6, and 7. Game 5, which they won, which put them up 3-2. You can make an injury excuse all the fucking you want. Doesn't matter. Game 5, he went 5 of 21 from the field and 0 of 11 from 3. And the goddamn Rockets won that fucking game. When they needed Harden to step up, nut up, and play big in Game 6 and Game 7, in Game 6 he goes 10 of 24 from the field, 4 of 12 from 3. Game 7, 12 of 29 from the field, 2 of 13 from 3. Are you starting to get the fucking picture here? No, I'm going to continue to go on because when people say this dumb shit, they deserve to be called out and blasted for it. Look at the previous round in 2018, the Western Conference Semis against the Jazz, Games 4 and 5. He would have combined 15 of 44 from the field and 2 of 14 from 3. 2018 in the first round. You notice that 2018 theme. Like, he fucking sucked, and when it mattered. 8 of 21 from the field, 4 of 11 from 3. I could go on and on and on. That's just the past 3-4 seasons of those kind of notable moments, those notable pressure games. Time after time after time, he fails to deliver. Because so much of his style is based around drawing those bullshit-ass garbage fouls, getting his ass to the line when he hasn't really earned it, because the referees are going to give him that treatment because he's a fucking star and he takes a bunch of fucking shots. And then in the playoffs, when you don't get quite the same number of calls, he's entirely, completely ineffective. There was one moment in Game 7 against Milwaukee, it's in fucking overtime. Like, Harden's got a little bit of an opening there in the lane. Shoot the floater. Instead, what does he do? He dribbles it out like a dumb dick and shoots one of his jackass threes that you know is going to brick a mile long. James Harden is a punk ass in the playoffs. His track record shows that. His performance in Game 7 against the Bucks proves that. He took a punk-ass way out of Houston because he couldn't get it done as the top fucking guy to go somewhere else where he could blend in a little bit, let Kyrie and Kevin Durant take all the pressure off of him so he could kind of coast to a fucking championship. So, of course, that moment in time where his team really needed him the most, you're going to talk about, we played in these minutes and he gutted it out. Honestly, when he shot 2 for 12 from 3, they'd have been better off sitting his fucking ass down. Really. I guess overrated as Ben Simmons is I think James Harden's even more overrated because people think he's this tremendously skilled offensive player and one of the greatest offensive players of all time. They're talking about, like, you got his dumb dick former GM, Daryl Morey, talking about he's more offensively skilled than Michael Jordan. Like, that's the level of stupidity that has creeped in today's NBA environment. The hell good does it do to put up a bunch of numbers in the regular season when it gets to that moment in time in the playoffs, you play like a punk ass? Like, say what you want about Durant, but these past couple of games, he wasn't no punk ass. He played like a true elite player is supposed to do. James Harden, once again, played like a punk in the playoffs. He's one of the worst chokers I've ever seen in NBA history and, frankly, in sports history. Like, it's so bad that I think Peyton Manning feels bad for him sometimes and wants to go give James a fucking Heimlich. He shoots a career 33% from three in the playoffs. His career field goal percentage in the playoffs is under 43%. He's fucking garbage. Overrated as shit, and a propensity for pathetic level performances in the playoffs, the likes of which have rarely been seen from such a marquee elite player. This is James Harden's legacy. You can blame the injuries all you fucking want, but until proven otherwise, he's one of the greatest chokers not just in NBA history, but in American sports history. Pathetic.